Okay, here's an example for completing the square. This is number 12F from the homework that was due today. So if we want to do this with completing the square, first we need to divide both sides by a, which is 5 in this case. So we get x squared plus 2x over 5, also known as 2/5 x, plus 3/5 equals 0, because 0 divided by 5 is still 0. And then we need to subtract out our constant term. So when we do that, we're going to end up with, minus 3/5 minus 3/5. We're going to end up with a negative 3/5 over here. Then we need to do our b over 2 squared. And in this case, our b is a fraction. So what we have is 2/5, and we have to divide that by 2 and then square it. Now when we divide a fraction by 2, that's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, which is 1/2. So you do 2/5 times 1/2, you get 2 over 10, which is just 1/5. You can also cancel out these 2's here and get 1/5 that way too. But either way, you get 1/5. That's when you divide it by 2, and then you still have to square it. So you got to do 1/5 squared. You get 1 over 25. So that's the number you got to add on to each side of this equation, is this 1 over 25. So you add that on, add it on over here. Then you're going to need a common denominator to add these guys. So times 5 times 5, you get negative 15 over 25 plus 1 over 25, which gives you negative 14 over 25. So that's what you have on the right side. And then on the left side, you want to factor this up, so it's going to be x something squared. And that number that you're going to put in here is the number you double to get 2/5, and you square to get 1 over 25, which is going to be 1/5. You can also find that, but if you go back, what you did over here is the number you had before you squared it. Before you squared, you had 1/5, so that's your number. And then from here, we went from an equation we can't solve to an equation we can solve, so we just go square root, square root. So we have x plus 1/5 now. And then square root of negative 14 is going to be I root 14. Square root of 25 is going to be 5. We got to put a plus minus in front because we square rooted. And then just subtract 1/5 on both sides. And now x is by itself. And since this is irrational and actually not even real, it's not real because it has an I, you can just leave them separate. So then this would be your answer.